You emerge from a tiny, fragile egg, no bigger than a speck of dust, and suddenly everything becomes overwhelming. The world feels like it's trying to swallow you whole before you even take your first breath. Welcome to the butterfly life, where things are not as magical as they seem. Right off the bat, your whole existence is about survival. You're tiny, delicate, and utterly unprepared for the challenges that lie ahead. Your first challenge? Finding your way out of the egg. No one told you how tight and cramped it would be inside that shell. You kick and wriggle, your tiny body struggling against the walls. Finally, you break free, but instead of feeling liberated, you're hit with the harsh reality of the outside world. The air is thick, the sun too hot, and your surroundings seem impossibly large. It's not the safe, magical place you imagined. It's a battlefield. And then, you realize the worst thing about being born a butterfly? You're hungry. Not the cute fairy tale kind of hunger, but the kind that makes your tiny stomach scream for food. You need to eat almost constantly. But your diet? Leaves. Yes. You're destined to spend your life munching on plants that don't even taste good. You're constantly nibbling, moving from leaf to leaf, trying to get enough nutrients before a predator shows up or the wind knocks you off your perch. There's no time to rest. If you don't eat, you won't survive. It's a simple, brutal fact. The next problem? Your lifespan. You've got a few short weeks at best. That's it. Your entire life is a countdown from the moment you hatch. A few weeks of fluttering around trying to live your best life before the inevitable happens. You're just a snack for any larger animal that comes your way. Birds, frogs, lizards, all waiting for you to make one wrong move. You try to be stealthy, blending in with your surroundings, but it's hard. There's no real safety, and that more than anything makes being a butterfly feel like you're walking on a thin line that could snap at any moment. The few weeks you do have, though, are filled with the chaotic thrill of trying to find a mate. But guess what? It's not about love. It's about reproduction, plain and simple. You'll flutter around, desperately trying to catch the attention of the opposite sex. You'll probably end up fighting over a mate. There's no time for romance. It's all about procreation. And even then, you might not find anyone willing to stick around. Let's not forget the process of molting. You start your life as a caterpillar, which means you have to go through this awkward, uncomfortable phase. Not to mention, being a caterpillar means you're pretty much walking dinner for everything around you. Every time you eat, you're getting fatter, but you also become more vulnerable. Eventually, you have to stop and hide because it's time to shed your skin, and trust me, that's no spa day. It's one of the most uncomfortable experiences, like your body is betraying you, but you have no choice. You need it for the next stage. Finally, there's the transformation. You wrap yourself in a chrysalis, hoping you'll come out on the other side as a beautiful butterfly. And yes, it's incredible, but it's also painful. Your body morphs, contorts, you feel like you're dying, and honestly, it's almost worse than the struggle to survive before. When you finally emerge, you can't even fly right away. Your wings are wet and weak, and you're left hanging out for hours, waiting for them to dry. You don't just burst out in a glorious, colorful display of freedom. No, it's a fight just to be able to move. And here's the kicker. Once you're fully formed, the predators are still out there. You might think you're safe because you're a beautiful butterfly, but your bright colors only make you a target. Some animals are attracted to your wings like they're just another piece of candy. You've got to keep your wits about you and hope that your camouflage skills are up to par. You can't trust your beauty to save you. You can only rely on your speed, your agility, and your ability to find shelter. Speaking of shelter, the environment doesn't exactly have your back. As a butterfly, the weather is your enemy. The wind can knock you off course, rain can soak your wings and ground you, and the sun can be so intense, you'll end up overheating. You're constantly battling the elements. There's no comfortable place to call home. It's just the great outdoors, where everything is a potential threat, from predators to the weather itself. As you get older, your energy starts to wear out. Every flap of your wings takes more effort. Every flutter through the air feels heavier, slower. The reality hits that you've spent your whole life battling just to stay alive. And yet, you know it won't last. Your wings will eventually give out and you'll die, often in some dramatic fashion. Maybe a bird catches you mid-flight or a larger insect crushes you underfoot. It doesn't matter how pretty or graceful you are, the world doesn't stop for you. And the worst part of all, you never really get a chance to live. You spend your life either hiding, eating, or reproducing. There's no time to truly enjoy the beauty around you or even the flight that you dreamed of as a caterpillar. You just go through the motions of survival with the constant weight of knowing that one day, it'll all be over. Despite all this, you keep going. You keep flapping, keep surviving because that's all you know how to do. You keep flying in search of food, fighting for a mate, hiding from predators, and hoping that your wings don't fail you before the end. Each day is a battle, but it's one that you can't afford to lose. And eventually when your time does come, it won't be glorious. It'll just be another part of nature's cycle, where your life is a brief moment in the grand scheme of things. So, why does it suck to be born a butterfly? Because it's a life full of challenges, discomfort, and danger. You're not the symbol of freedom that everyone imagines. You're a tiny, delicate creature constantly trying to survive in a world that doesn't care. It's not all bad. There are moments of beauty, moments of flight, moments of peace. But those moments are few and far between. The rest of your time is spent just trying to make it to the next day. A butterfly's life is short, and often it's a struggle. But that's the reality of nature, no matter how colorful or magical it may seem from the outside. So the next time you see a butterfly fluttering around, remember, it's not as easy as it looks. There's a constant battle happening beneath those beautiful wings. Life as a butterfly is more about survival than it is about freedom. And though it's beautiful, it's also one of the toughest lives in nature.